And it's Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Talking Business. We're up in Verona, New York today at the convention of the Independent Bankers Association for New York State. And I have a chance to talk with Mike Wimer, who is the past chairman of the organization, actually during the COVID period. Mike,
yes.
Good to see you.
You too.
What's it like for you to be back here with all your bankers from New York State?
Yeah, there's no substitute for doing this in person, and we're glad to be here. It's a great venue, and we've done it. We went back in person, I guess, last year, maybe the year before. I'm trying to remember, but yeah, we don't want to go back to 2020, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit. You were leading the organization, state chairman, worked with John Wachowski during the COVID period, right when it started in spring of 2020. What was that period? What did you feel? In your memories, what do you feel good about?
I feel really good about how really all of our banks in the state came through the pandemic, both in terms of the banks remaining healthy and doing well, but finding new ways and quickly to serve customers and take care of not only customers but employees and the communities that we're all a part of. So it's, as I said, not something we'd want to have to live through again, but we learned a lot. I think we grew and kind of learned really about how readily we can adapt when we need to things. So there's a lot of good, I think, that can be taken from what we learned.
Very good.
So, yeah.
Very good. Janet Yellen at the national meeting of the ICBA this spring was very complimentary of the work done by community bankers across the country during the pandemic. That's been a big part of the economic recovery since then. Why are community banks so important to their communities and today coming out of a pandemic?
Well, for a lot of reasons, really, and most of them reasons that we would tell you anyway were important to begin with, but just the commitment to the communities that we're a part of, because community banking is just so different from larger regional or national banking. Our attention isn't spread across, a couple of states or the whole country, and so we're so much more invested in the community or handful of communities, our little corners of the world, so to speak, that we're a part of. And I think there's a real difference that comes from that, and we may not be for everybody, nothing is, but honestly there's still a lot of folks who find value in knowing the people that they're dealing with and who are their financial partner, which is what we really want to be. We don't want someone just to be an account number. We want to know them, and we want to learn, what are their dreams, what are their goals, what are their aspirations, and how can we work together with them to make them happen. So I think that's just a mentality and an approach that's not the same as you would necessarily find elsewhere.
Very good. Well, it's been a challenging spring with the crisis that the regional banks brought on. I know it's going to be a topic today. What are some of the topics you're looking forward to hearing about at this meeting?
Well, what you mentioned, certainly, with the three really bank failures, if you want to call them that, Silicon Valley Bank first, Signature Bank, and then most recently, I stumble over the name because I'm getting old and my memory isn't what it used to be, but I want to say First Republic, and I don't think I have that right. It doesn't sound quite right to me.
You're right, yeah.
But in any event, there was initially a lot of concern about the different treatment of larger banks with respect to the FDIC insurance fund, and whether larger banks were going to continue to be favored and have the deposit insurance limit not honored in their case, but honored in the case of banks like all of us who are small enough to not be systemically important, so to speak. And I would say we were very concerned initially about whether that would be, in effect, the federal government steering many of our customers to bigger banks. And that really hasn't turned out to be the case yet, but it is a concern. I think it's something we'll hear a bit about very much. I think all of us at this event, all of us in our business are struggling a fair bit these days, so far reasonably successfully, but with the cost of funding loan growth, and primarily what community banks are in the business of doing is taking in deposits and turning around and lending them in the communities that we're a part of to help businesses and individuals in those communities grow and prosper. And right now, the spread, if you will, or the margin between the cost of funding those loans and what can be charged in terms of interest on making them has gotten very compressed.
Sure.
And that is a challenge that we're all facing. Thankfully, the economy is doing well enough that many of us are experiencing meaningful loan demand, and the cost of funding it is a real challenge. So I think that's something we'll hear a lot of conversation about as well.
That was a national story on national radio this morning driving.
Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you described.
Interesting. And another thing, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
But staffing and remote work, that kind of thing is. Just had a couple of conversations about it earlier this evening. It's something that I'm not going to say we're all struggling with, but we're all understanding that we need to continue to adapt to that and continue to adapt to the expectations of workers in this economy and try to find ways. And the better job we can do of balancing maybe a more traditional approach to things to how can we really have employees that prosper in whatever ways are best for them and have it be a win-win for the community banks they're a part of and for them and their families. So that's really a very, it's something that 3+ years ago, it's not that nobody worked remotely, but it was, that has just changed, and not just in our industry, that's true.
Across the board.
You can hear and read stories about that in any industry.
And certainly managing customer service, finding people and allowing them to work at home, giving them the tools to do that and supervise, big topic. But tell us a little bit about your bank.
Sure.
And what is it like? What's its history?
Its history goes back to 1902. Was begun in the little town of Little Valley, New York. It's about an hour south of Buffalo, just over the hill from I call it a little ski town, Ellicottville, New York.
Okay.
And it's a relatively rural economy where we are, but there are pockets of surprising, I think, economic strength, and we are having a good time there, growing, having built a team that is doing a wonderful job, honestly, of taking it, I don't want to say taking advantage of in the wrong way, but really capitalizing on opportunities that exist within our market to help families and businesses, do well and grow, and provide a bank that can be a partner of theirs, as I described earlier. So it really is. We're having fun doing it, and I tease a lot with folks who, if I happen to make a mistake and say 2 + 2 = 3 or something, and they say, well, you're a banker, you should be better with numbers than that. And I say, don't worry, banking is a people business. And of course, you've got to be able to make sure that things, the math gets done right. But honestly, community banking at its heart is a people business. And if you've got the right team of folks doing it, who've got the right mentality and attitude about how to do it and what we're doing, you really can still make a difference by doing it well that way.
Just have to ask you, I come from a suburban area, Westchester, just outside New York City, and work with some of the banks there. I worked at Chase downtown years ago. What is it like when you're a banker serving an agricultural, much more rural market?
It is very different. Part of my background was in more densely populated areas than where we are now as well. And it really comes down to making sure you've got, in my view, it comes down to making sure you've got members of your team at your bank who understand the people and the types of businesses that are in your market. And if they do, I mean, that's really the key element of what it takes, I think. And so it still goes back to what we were talking about a couple of minutes ago about it being a people business. And if your expertise is in agriculture, you're probably not going to have a lot of opportunity to leverage that in Westchester, New York, for example. But similarly, if your expertise happens to be in 20-story, several hundred unit multifamily apartment or condominium buildings, you're not going to get to leverage that too much where we are. So it really is a matter of finding people whose interests and skills align with the market that you're trying to serve. I don't know if that's responsive, but I hope it is. So.
That's terrific. I mean, that's what's great about being able to come to a statewide independent bankers meeting. We meet bankers and talk to bankers from all across New York, different regions, and delight to talk with you. Is there any final key thought on what you're hoping to see with the economy in the balance of the year?
Gosh, well, not to sound selfish, but I think most of us would love for the Federal Reserve to not just slow down, but stop the interest rate increases for now. Give a little bit more time for the I think 10 now that have occurred in the last 12 months or so to have a little more effect, because one of the things that so often when you look back at history that occurs is the economic effect of interest rate increases tends to lag a bit, and we tend not to have patience to let those effects occur before we can try to continue to cause more of them. And so I just a personal opinion, but I think the economy will benefit from just catching our breath, tap the brakes, and give things a chance to just settle in a little bit and see more of the effects of what we've already done.
Okay, Mike Wimer, great to see you here at the Independent Bankers Association New York State meeting. You are a past chairman of the organization during a very challenging period of COVID, such a challenging leadership time for both an organization and the company that you run and trying to serve your customers. So really congratulations on that and the work that you did.
Well, thank you, Ken, very much.
Our
certainly
pleasure.
Enjoyed this. Yep, take care.
Our pleasure. This is Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Talking Business. We're in Verona, New York at the Independent Bankers Association of New York State Conference. Thanks for watching.